Space Marines! Space Marines! The Space Marine. Space Marine. Humanity's last line of genetically altered defense. The Space Marine. Terminator! Today we're going to talk about the Terminators from the Leviathan box set. Stompy, thick, elite, iconic, tactical dreadnought armor, handle any situation with bullets and fisting. I'm really stoked on the new Terminators, the kind of Primaris upscaled sizing. You know, they gives them a little more room to work with the sculpting, so that the bodies appear to have more lifelike motion to them. You know, they're very nice looking. But I think the best thing of all about Terminators, no backpacks. I am tired of painting a tiny little computer piece when I feel like I finished a model, a Space Marine, and then I have to do a backpack that possibly has another like dead person attached to it. So man, the back of a Terminator is basically like a grill top. It's a breeze to paint. But not only are we going to paint the models today, I also would like to share with you the base build. It's pretty simple. I just took some plastic card and a pair of scissors, just kind of sliced out a rough circle, took my super glue, drew a quick self-portrait. I mean, I'm working on it, but I think it's fairly accurate. It's a very happy guy, and now we know that there's a happy guy hidden underneath every one of these Terminators bases, so maybe it will bring me good luck in the future if I ever start an army. But after that, the plastic card is secure. I'll use another piece of this plastic card to kind of brace my X-Acto blade and slowly kind of carve some panel lines and grooves into the surface. Then I got some small rivets from the Tichy train group. I don't know, just buy these on eBay. But yeah, just throwing a few of those around to kind of add to the industrial nature. Then I brought in a touch of super glue, some kind of ground up slate. And I just smooth out the bond between the like sculpted tactical rock under the model's foot and my awesome base. But yeah, all done. Prime time, the whole crew. But yeah, all done. Many varieties on a theme. The whole crew is ready. Prime time. I gave them a nice black undercoat with a white overspray. I know I'm working with the color yellow, but I still want the models to appear dark in their own way. But yeah, the whole crew is going to be in yellow armor. It's going to be a very flashy look. To begin, it was a 50-50 mix of Militia Green and Rawhide Brown from the Army Painters Air Paints series. I recently acquired a box of these, so I wanted to make this video and kind of give this kit a go and see what I could pull off. And having already done all the painting, I picked a color that was difficult intentionally. Like the color yellow is a little hard to work with across all mixtures and brands of paint, you know, so I really wanted to challenge myself and record it too, and yeah, hope that it all went well. If it had gone badly, you wouldn't see this video, so things went well, and thanks to the Army Painter for this big old pack of air paints. But yeah, just laying down a nice thick foundation, you see that gives me this kind of OD green, kind of olive brown. I read this book recently, Space Marine. Yeah, Ian Watson. It was a really fun read, man. It captures a lot of that like rogue trader energy, but in the descriptions of the Imperial fists in this, they describe the yellow as a pussient yellow, so I wanted to capture more of a greenish nature. So yeah, with that as the foundation, I brought in some demonic yellow. Again, like yellow is going to be a little bit different of a difficult color to use, I would expect, so I diluted it a little bit further than I normally would and added, you know, more layers. I went at it more gradually, 4 layers to be exact. And yeah, playing with the transparency and considering certain areas that would be more exposed to the overhead light source, you know, like if the knee is reaching out from underneath the model, his massive bulky Terminator shoulder pads would be casting a shadow on his legs if they're tucked underneath. So yeah, just acknowledging a little bit of that with this, you know, single color of paint, but focusing on saturation to still get some variety. After that, it was time for a little moon dust. Blast off. That's a fun name. But yeah, it was the perfect kind of just step up. I wanted to keep things a little bit on the deadened side. I didn't want to just add pure white into the yellow, so there's a little bit of kind of an ivory mixed into this moon dust. But yeah, just a little kick of the moon dust in those key areas, the upper shoulder pads, the collar area, that knee that's sticking out, anything facing upwards. But yeah, just add a very small amount. A little bit goes a long way. You want to let those kind of mid-tone and shadow volumes really breathe. I'm not the strongest airbrushist, so I went back with a very, very thin coat of that original base mixture, that militia green and rawhide brown. You know, this is going to act as a filter to cover my tracks, so no one is the wiser. It happens to be a little bit of speckling, you know, this kind of unifying shadow can cover up some of those rougher areas. And it also just kind of helps me re-control. Yeah, I'm not a good airbrusher. I might be a little bit out of control, so I laid on that base coat. I got my mid-tone, I got my highlight. Go back to the base coat and kind of control what may have been lost. And I find just working from the bottom angle with the airbrush just gave me a little bit more control, made things a little darker. Yeah, it framed the whole thing together nicely. Who knew you could just go back and forth in between stages? Art. Metals. I use night scales from the air paint range. That's a fun name. I don't need much from the metals on these models, just a base coat, then I'll throw it on a wash and a silver highlight and I'm good. On the fancy bits, I use some rough iron and then blend it up with bright gold and then a little silver cap on the top of that. These are airbrush paints too, but I'm just kind of seeing how much gas I can get out of these. I know they're not meant to be used with a hand brush, but certainly they can be. So what am I expecting? I just want to kind of see and find out. Have some fun experimenting as I'm just painting something kind of basic. And now I'm setting up for a black wash. Most areas I want to read as black. I'll base with a mix of black, white, and blue. You know, kind of think of it like this, just black and white. You can produce a variety of grays with a touch of blue added into it. So you get a, you know, kind of a cold take of that. Like the rest of the model is a warmer yellow, so all the accent areas, most of them, I'll include some cooler tones. I want to get some other areas chopped away. There's the crux Terminators on the shoulder pad. The Space Marines and Terminator armor are of a veteran status, so they'll need white helmets. I did my own research. Sidebar, I started to lose direction, you know, and I just want to move quickly and get everything base coated, right? So I threw it on base coat on the Purity Seals, the red chest eagle. I just did a little dancing, and I think it would just kind of extend the potentially boring parts of this tutorial if I just showed every bit of that being base coated. So let's just jog things up a little bit. It's always interesting to work with a pair or trio of colors and see how much you can really pull out of that. I was having fun with this on the Terminator helmet, and I wanted to read as white, but that's the brightest maximum that you have is the color white. So thinking about that a bit, you know, everything leading up to that can be an off-white, and I'll save the pure white for my edge highlights. So, you know, it just gives me a little bit of shading to play with. Finally, it was wash time. For the black, at least. Yeah, I have a lot of other areas I want to smother in a brown wash, so let's get along to that. I'd like to get a decal laid in place as well before some blending and chipping. Watch Vince Venturella's tutorial on laying down decals, just using microsol and microset to melt it down. You can apply a flat decal to a circular surface. It takes a little kind of pushing and pulling, but it's not impossible. And finally, like, decals actually look good. You know, I'll have to then lay some gloss coat over that, and then a little bit of a matte varnish to then kind of smooth things out. The gloss, why you're using gloss is because it's a little bit thicker, and you're laying, you know, your decal goes down on top of the surface, so there's a, yeah, that small edge from the sheet still, and the gloss will, you know, act as a kind of a filler agent, and then the matte varnish, you know, takes things back to looking natural again. But yeah, I'm laying down some chipping as well, a little bit of battle damage. You know, again, this is a way I can cover my tracks, airbrushing, Maybe I'll see something that I don't like. Well, that's where the bullet hit, right where I made a mistake. And this is the time-consuming part if you let it. And I suggest just let it. You've done all this work. You've walked. You've gone about 8 out of 10 miles now, and just kind of sharpening. So there's so much, such small surface areas to cover. It can seem like it's daunting, but really, you're laying down very small portions of paint, and it goes quickly. Just have patience, take a little bit of time. But yeah, I'm going to be jumping around on the model. Getting a little closer to the finish line. The whole model's getting a general highlight. Just a very vague facelift. But again, I want to keep things moving. You understand that I'm making things brighter and just pushing it further along, just moving through these stages of rendering. Now it's time to get to the chipping and the battle damage. So I wanted to keep seeing what I can pull from these air paints. This is like my brand new toy. So let's give it a whirl. The helmets, are they on or are they off? They should always be on, but are the eyeballs casting illuminated light, or is it like a transparent lens? Today I decided to go for the illuminated light. I wouldn't use most of these with a brush. They're crazy thin. They're diluted to be atomized and sprayed out of the airbrush, but I can fortify a tone by mixing another color in. So I took the Gauss green plus a little bit of a blue to kind of create a deeper version of that color, and then also taking some yellow and mixing it in with the Gauss green to produce a kind of brighter, more vibrant green, then taking that two-color mixture and adding a little bit of white into it, just pulling that gradient forward. I don't want it to be too dark because I want it to be illuminated. Light is light, so keep it very mid and highlight tones, but yeah, just kind of pulling forward as he stares towards death's door. He is death's door. Anyways, around the eyes, right on top of those flat cheekbones, very prime real estate to take a nice diluted thin layer of that Gauss green. Mamma mia. I'll dilute this, just add it very gradually. You can quickly overdo the OSL, but a little hint of a tint is all the doctor needs. Dr. Tones. God, time for a wash. Pulling out some strong tone, laying down a very thin, controlled coat of it. Think of this as a glaze, just unrolling a very, very gentle sheet of tints. No. In fact, slapping on a nice light pair of sunglasses. Nothing is different about the world, just the whole tone of everything is a little more unified, and that is just the kind of filtering effect that this strong tone has. Of course, it is going to lay in those valleys and produce a little bit of a something, but I'm not counting on it too much for that. I want it to just further bond the blending, just another kind of glazed candy coating. Anyways, using a very controlled amount. If I lay too much wash down on a flat surface, I'm going to have all these run marks and just weird tide lines. It's not going to work for me. All that work put into the model, what the heck is it standing on? I was going for just kind of a green asphalt here. I just mixed a lot of colors together, and this is what came out. This is the soup. It's kind of like a deep sea green, coal black, sort of murky green tone. But yeah, towards the front, I was just slapping a little bit of white into it to kind of lazily brighten it, and just using small amounts at a time to gradually build it. But I want to get some of those brush strokes in there and create a little bit of extra texture that isn't necessarily on the base. These Terminators are running around with their dump truck bodies stomping all over the place. It's going to be adding some kind of dents here and there. But then towards the back, I was just mixing some black into place, a little black in back. The rubble gave me a chance to add some material variety to the situation. That little piece of plaster from the beginning that I now recall I didn't mention, but seeing is believing. It's all in there, Yeah, I just mixed up a lighter, kind of warmer OD green tone and just brightened that up with a little white, deepen it with a little black blue. Mamma mia, all done. I'm just enjoying using a limited palette. All these kind of green tones. I feel like most of the colors on this whole scheme just fall to one side of the color wheel, and it's a little monochromatic, and I'm having fun in that way. I I like the look, you know, it's murky. I couldn't resist adding a little bit of weathering powder, the true metallic metals and powder add a little realism, and I like it very grim dark. You know, that's part of contrast. You know, having the kind of contrast of tones. I like that. I've got the you know, grit of the chalky weathering powder, the metallic flakes, the smooth opaque paint. Yeah, nice material variety. It's cool. I also took a swoop over everything and just added some sharper lines to the base, pulling out, you know, some of those edges, add some scratches, pick out some of the protruding bits of debris and rubble, you know, just kind of spiking things up a little bit. But yeah, the Terminator is all done, and now I have to finish all the other Battle Brothers. So it was a busy week of painting for me. I started recorded the footage for this like 5 days from when I'm doing this narration now, so I kept a good steady pace, and it's been a lot of fun, honestly. You know, I don't paint Space Marines that often, and I own a lot of them, and you know, I ended up painting them from time to time. You know, sometimes Games Workshop will send me releases ahead of time. Thank you for this Leviathan box. So I figured, you know, if I'm kind of slow rolling a Space Marine army, essentially, I'll just pick a lane and I'll go with the yellow ones. Almost went with Crimson Fists. I also want to say that building towards an army, you look at their bases, and I built things kind of like a set of bleachers. Like, maybe not on the battlefield, you probably want to line a 5-man unit out, but in a picture, I'm going to be placing them in kind of a little 5-piece group with 2 in the back. So you can see the rear bases just have a small, thin layer of corkboard kind of built in, you know, so just a little bit taller, and if I had a 3rd rank, I'd make those even taller as well. At least looks nice for display. I also want to point out the just kind of material difference on the models. You know, they are very monochromatic, but there are certain choices that I made to break things up in very subtle and slight ways. Like, the eyes are green, the little lenses up on the shoulder are blue, the red on the chest eagle is different from the red on the purity seals, and I could have been a little bit lazy, but the same with the parchment on the purity seals themselves. Like, that could have been a less harmonious color. You know, it's just a lot of little touches in there to add to the material variety. I think that kind of scales things down and makes them look just a little bit more small and accurate. Yeah, I'm weird, go figure. I'm a very weird person, but it matters to me. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm having a lot of fun making videos recently. You know, things have changed. I feel a lot different about my enthusiasm towards the hobby and what I want to be sharing, and just how I'm doing everything. So yeah, I just hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, check out my Patreon. Please support me over there. Like and subscribe everywhere else. Check out the links down below for brushes, paints, and all that. Yeah, I love you. I'll see you next time. Remain unchained. I can't see you.
For dawn.